For the next few days, everything seemed to progress as normal. As one could expect, the smaller gathering aboard Mika's ship of captains from the Brotherhood of Stripes side of the war had their gathering, and though it might come to a shock to some, Captain Friedmont played his part spectacularly. His lies were convincing, his smiles swaying, and backing Mika's plans up. It didn't take much else to convince the other captains to follow along with Mika in order to try to push her use of the Darien device as the primary plan. There was some discussion over why they couldn't use both plans, but Mika easily explained this, the basics of it being that the use of the asteroid field detonations would make her plan feasibly impossible. The Darien device may be capable of making a world habitable. However, with a never-ending assortment of meteors raining down from the sky, recontaminating and damaging the atmosphere, it would make it impossible for even a Darien device to fix it. It would, quite frankly, simply bring too much damage to the planet, slow the process down to the point where it would be unable to complete the objective within the time frame necessary. And all the other captains seemed to see Mika's line of reasoning. Afterwards, the game was set. According to the man given command over the fleet, they were able to acquire a Darien device to rehabilitate the world. A minor expense in comparison to the baryon missiles that had already been purchased and could no longer be returned or exchanged. So they were sent to the war effort as well. Both would soon be arriving to designated drop zones in secret outside of the main war zone. And ships from the conflict would exit the sector in secret and meet these transports in order to receive the goods. The Darien device being the primary plan for forward movement in their war efforts, while the baryon missiles were a backup plan should everything else fail. So they were to be delivered in separate shipments for maximum security, so that a single attack couldn't waylay it all. And everything, including the location of the drops, was being kept very hush-hush and on a need-to-know basis only. Whilst everyone else was frittering away with their tasks within the war effort, events were beginning to unfold on board Friedmont Darman's ship. As Friedmont sits in his office with several data pads going over the stratagem of the war efforts and the overall plans, there's a ring of the door as one of his crew members enters. Captain Friedmont, we've performed the checks that you requested, the crew member said as he approached the desk, extending out another data pad to Captain Friedmont, who stopped what he was doing in order to grasp it, beginning to look over the information. We did exactly what you said, sir, despite the strangeness of your order. We took the missiles given to us by Captain Angelica, and we ran them through a sieve, sir. We took them apart piece by piece and checked everything, down to the last microchip, sir. And we found nothing. There doesn't seem to be anything out of place. The missiles, for all reasons and purposes, seem to be exactly what she said they were. Is that so? Friedmont replied, looking over the data pad. And here I was expecting that it might at least be possible that that bitch is more clever than she puts on. More clever, sir? The crew member replied, looking at him a bit curious. I was expecting that it was at least possible that she might have thought she could pull a fast one on me, plant some remote detonators inside of the missiles, or something sneaky. Maybe try to get the upper hand on me. I mean, the whole situation seemed a bit coincidental. And she did seem to part with those missiles a bit easier than I was comfortable with. She put up a show like there was a good fight about it, but I got the sneaking suspicion that it was her intention that I take the missiles from the get-go. The more I talk to her, the more I feel like this bitch is playing me. I almost get the feeling like I know her from somewhere. Or, more to speak, that she knows me. Which isn't surprising. I get around. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if I knocked the bitch boots sometime back in the day. Maybe she's still sore about it. I don't fucking know. I don't really remember her, but I tend to get hammered and have a wild time. So there are large portions of my memory that are just inaccessible. I have to say, I'm a bit disappointed. Here I was hoping for a challenge, and I end up playing checkers, a rudimentary game. And I'm playing chess. But I suppose there's no reason lamenting. In the end, her stupidity is my advantage. What information have we picked up from the devices that we planted on board her ship? Well, the signals that we're able to pick up from the devices are intermittent. Based on range, the receivers aren't powerful enough to go over a long distance. They have to be subtle in order to evade detection. But whenever we get within range, we can pick up the signals and exchange some minor information. We of course have several devices planted in order to waylay their ship in important times. One strategically placed to interfere with their power flow transistors. It'll reverse the flow, cause an overload in their power matrix, and fry all of the couplings running from the power source of the ship. With no power, they'll have no shields, no energy-based weaponry. They'll still be able to fire missiles, but not much else, until such time as the damage is repaired. And even then, there's no guarantee that they'll find the device that caused the overload. And another one of the devices that we planted has been siphoning off information from the mainframe. Despite the advanced nature of their ship, they appear to be running a basic Gillion mainframe as the operating system for the ship, so we were able to pull information off of it fairly easily. So far, we have some basic information on the defensive and offensive abilities of the ship, the power flow ratios, and possibly a few weak spots to hit. But so far, that's all the information we've been able to pull. As we said, the signals are intermittent, sir. We're only able to do it when we're at close enough range. So they haven't located any of the devices. No, the crew member responded. By all appearances, all of them went unnoticed. Damn, this bitch is stupid. She let all of us on board her ship and then didn't even check. What a fucking waste of time. Even if she considered me an ally, she still should have checked the ship after we had our little visit. Just an amateur captain with no skill, no experience, and no foresight. What a dull fucking game, Friedmont said, tossing the pad onto the table. Well, at least there are other things going on that can excite me. So tell me, the signal transmitters that we planted along our security route, any response? Well, we haven't exactly finished our route yet, sir. We're still beginning to circle the sector that we were given security privileges over. We're about halfway through, but as of yet, there don't appear to be any responses left within the signal transmitters. But, as I said, we're only 50% through. Well, keep your ears to the ground on it, Friedmont replied as he kicked his feet up on the desk. Sir, if you're trying to contact the enemy units, why use these signal transmitters? Why not simply go into the asteroid field, filter one of them out, and try to make contact? Ugh, you fucking numbskull. Remember, this is a war zone, you moron. We're not the only ships on patrol around here, and entering enemy territory is a bad idea. There's no guarantee that they won't shoot first and ask questions later. We need to establish that we're there for a dialogue. Otherwise, it'll just turn into a firefight. And in the asteroid belt, being the biggest ship doesn't give you the advantage. In fact, it's more of a disadvantage. So in order to evade being detected by any of the Brotherhood ships, we have to ensure that we don't do anything outside of normal. No fragrant trips into the asteroid belt that might be called out or noted into suspicion. Trust me, those goons on the other side will bite. All we have to do is offer up enough bait. They'll be suspicious of us, of course, but in the end, they'll try to cut a deal. There's nothing more advantageous than having somebody on the enemy unit's side.